Live from the top of the beautiful towers at Merle Hay Mall, all 6 stories of it, it's Faith Works Live with host Michael Damastis.
And I am Michael Damastis, and I am your host, and this is Faith Works Live, and I'm so glad that you're joining us here today on top of the Tower of Truth at Merle Hay Mall. And I'm being joined in studio by my daughter-in-law, Rachel Damastis. Also in studio with us is Chris Brass, our producer. And it's Tuesday, which means it's Life Day. And I am so excited to talk to you and talk with our guest today to talk about her story. And if you have never heard the name Rebecca Kiesling, I'm telling you, you have been missing out, because Rebecca Kiesling is a powerhouse when it comes to the pro-life movement, and she is somebody that really blew me away the very first time I heard her speak. And I've actually seen her numerous times up at our state house here in Iowa, because she does more than just try to motivate people on the issue of life. She really kind of puts her money where her mouth is, and she gets actively engaged in the way that gets legislated. And so I want to introduce to you Rebecca. Rebecca, thank you for joining us today on Faith Works Live.
Thank you so much. That was quite an introduction. You'll have to share that with my children.
Well, Rebecca, I remember being completely blown away by your personal story and how that impacts this issue of life, in specifics with the way that people describe themselves. Typically, is you'll hear somebody say, like here in Iowa, we get the presidential candidates all the time, by which, as a side note, you have impacted a couple different ones, and I know that specifically. But here in Iowa, you might have a presidential candidate come and say, hey, you know what? I am pro-life, except for rape or incest. And what does that mean to you, Rebecca, when you hear somebody say that, like a presidential candidate?
Well, I mean, it hurts. After all these years, it still hurts. But I also know that, it can be an opportunity. I've had, some success at changing hearts and minds, not always. Not my own governor, but I explained to them what it means to someone like me.
What does it mean to someone like you?
Well, it's like them saying to my face, I think your mother should have been able to abort you, that your life is not worth as much as everybody else, that you weren't worthy of protecting. Which is really like saying, if I had my way, you'd be dead right now.
Well, give us some backstory, because some of the people might be listening and they might be thinking, well, I don't mean that. Well, how do you jump to that conclusion? So let us know why you would feel that way.
Well, I was conceived when my birth mother was abducted at knife point by a serial rapist. And she went to 2 back alley illegal abortions before Roe versus Wade. And I was almost aborted. She backed out for fear for her own safety, and because it was illegal. But when we met, she was really happy to meet me, but she told me that if abortion had been legal, she would have aborted me. And she was, pro-choice for the first 6 years we met, and then she changed her mind. And now, decades later, we are both thankful that we were both protected from the horror of abortion.
Wow.
So I literally owe my birth, the law being there to protect me. She did not choose life for me. She chose abortion. I was protected, and legality matters. And so when people say, I'm pro-choice, or I'm pro-life except in cases of rape, it really is saying she should have been able to. And you don't deserve to have the life you're living today. You didn't deserve that protection you received back then. That's really what it is. And I know that, people don't put a face to the issue. So I realize that they're not trying to attack me personally, they don't realize they are. And I've had people say to me, "Oh, it's nothing against you personally." Well, it affects me personally. This is what it's about. I help remind people this is not just a concept. This is what you're committing to.
I think that a lot of people keep this issue, the issue of abortion, the issue of like even these exceptions that we're talking about, more in an academic arena in their mind, and they don't see it in a practical light. And you literally put flesh and bones to this, and so it has a profound impact upon people when they start discussing this, realizing they're talking about a living, breathing human being.
Mm-hmm.
And
and I'm alive now, and I was alive then. And it's not just me. It's now with my organization, I have a database of almost 500 conceived in rape or incest mothers who became pregnant by rape, birth mothers, post-abortion. And all of these stories help to put, faces to the issue.
Right. So we have a listener that's watching us via Facebook Live, and he had just commented that he wouldn't share, I don't think, my views or your views, but he said, I don't think that Rebecca's quote-unquote feelings are important when it comes to other women's bodies and decisions. Have you heard these kinds of statements before, Rebecca?
What does that even mean? I'm talking about... I expressed my feelings that it hurt, but this isn't about you're hurting someone's feelings. It's about killing innocent people. Are we going to say, that we're going to make policy against, drunk driving or murder or we're not going to help victims of sex trafficking because someone started talking about their feelings, and so you're going to negate the whole issue because there are, in fact, feelings involved? No, what a cop-out. What does that have to do with anything to say that, it's not about her feelings?
Well, I guess what I'm not that I'm not embracing this at all, but I believe that, like what Ryan is trying to say, if I could speak for him, he's trying to say that an individual person's emotions aren't necessarily should not be the driving force when it comes to a woman's choice to do this or to do that. And I believe he would believe that a woman should have the choice to be able to have an abortion. And I would say that I think that's a horrible, horrible thing, honestly, and would not agree with him.
Mm-hmm. But what is an abortion? What is it? You ask people, they'll use language like choice,
right,
or even just terminate or abortion. Well, what is an abortion? You're talking about killing an innocent human being who is very much alive. And the question is, should you be able to kill innocent human beings?
Well, no.
And
Rebecca, why?
And the thing is that it does devalue the lives of people like me.
Why is there an exception? Rebecca, why when people are talking about this, will they say, they don't support abortion unless, with the exception of rape and incest? Why when you talk to people, do you see that there is still a problem with when it comes to rape? Why would that be an exception?
Well, I do think that it comes down to people's emotions, because people want to show that they're compassionate towards rape victims, and I understand that. My best friends in life are rape victims. My birth mother, who I adore, is a victim of rape, and so of course we want to have concern for them, but that concern is misplaced.
Absolutely,
violence is not the answer. More violence is not the answer. And the fact is that they're 4 times more likely to die within the next year after the abortion. So it's not like she's better off after the abortion. Violence isn't the answer. You're talking about killing another living human being. And she needs real help and real hope and assistance, and needs to be reminded that she has an innocent person inside of her. And I believe that we need to punish rapists, not babies.
Right.
I didn't deserve the death penalty for his crime. The U.S. Supreme Court said that it's cruel and unusual punishment to give the death penalty to rapists. In a second case, they said even for child molesters, that it's cruel and unusual punishment to give the rapist the death penalty. How is it that I deserved to die for his crime?
Wow. I genuinely would be interested in hearing a response. I mean, there are those out there that even on Facebook Live that have put out there they disagree with you. But when you are saying what you were saying, I want to know why. What would they say in response to what you just said? Because that is powerful, Rebecca. I think that it's like I said, it's one thing to talk about this academically. It's another thing to look at you eye to eye, face to face, and say, hey, you know what? You don't matter. You should really be dead. And that's a hard thing to say, because I think, frankly, there are wicked people out there that probably would say that. But I think that
I've had that happen.
Have you really?
I've literally had people raise their hand during Q&A at a university and say to me, yeah, I just want to say that I have no problem looking you in the eyes and saying to you that I think that your mother should have been able to abort you, and I fully understand that that would mean that you'd be dead right now. And I just want to say I have no problem doing that.
Wow.
And just remember that this is out of their care for women. Allegedly, right? I'm a woman.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
Love.
Not only certain women, I guess. And that's
yeah. But I've also changed the heart of I changed the heart of Governor Rick Perry, who could not look me in the eyes and justify the rape exception. When I asked him about, did I deserve the death penalty, he said, I don't believe that. And then me no more rape exceptions, and he promised no more rape exceptions, and he went out publicly declaring this position and sharing how my story changed his heart. But I also changed the heart. I remember there was one example of a pro-choice activist at a university about a year and a half ago, and she was such a radical feminist that she had showed up topless to another event, and I changed her heart.
We're talking with Rebecca Kiesling, and she has such a powerful personal testimony, and we're going to talk to her a little bit more when she comes back, and I hope that you are being impacted by what she has to say. Give us a call or text us at 515-727-KTIA.
This is Bob Vanderplaat.
Hello, this is FaithWorks Live, and you're listening to Mike DeMastis. That's me. And it's Tuesday. It's Life Day. And I'm being joined in the studio with my daughter-in-law, Rachel DeMastis. She works at Agape Pregnancy Center, and she is always with me on Tuesdays as we discuss the topic of life. And we have a caller online that has a question for, I believe, for Rebecca. Caller, are you there?
I am.
Okay. So tell us your name and what's your question?
My name is Deb, and I just have recently read a book called The Waiting, and I was wondering if Rebecca had heard of it. Have you heard of this book?
No, I haven't.
It's called The Waiting. It is a true story of a woman who was raped in 1924. I might get a little emotional talking about it. She did not know what had happened to her because no one had explained, you just didn't talk about things like that. And then she got pregnant. She was gang raped at a picnic that she had with her sewing club. And she was sent to the Lutheran House of Mercy here in Iowa. And she gave birth to her a little girl, a daughter. She named her Betty Jane. But her adoptive parents were pastors in the Lutheran church. They named her Ruth. And when she was 90 years old, she prayed, Lord, if Betty Jane is still alive, I would just like to meet her. I don't have to be in her life. And she had prayed for her for, over 70 years.
Wow.
And God answered her prayer. And that's what the book is about. It's called The Waiting. It is, I highly, highly recommend it to people.
That sounds great. There have been a number of stories of women who are, up there in age who have met their children when they had become pregnant by rape, but one that I'm thinking in particular, she had a son, and I know her name. That it's not the same woman for sure. It's not, but a lot of those stories have really gotten around that particular one that I'm thinking of. There was a lot of coverage of her story a couple of years ago, and it keeps coming out every now and then. But again, there'll be a new story about it again. But I don't remember that one with a daughter, so I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, The Waiting is what it's called.
We put a link up on our FaithWorks Live video feed, or on 99.3 FM The Truth Facebook Live feed. If you see that in the comments, you'll see the link for that. Actually, Tara did. Thanks, Tara, by the way.
Oh, great.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, Deb. Thank you for being a listener. I appreciate you.
Yep. Bye-bye, Mike.
So she had mentioned something that that this woman in the book had placed her baby for adoption. Rebecca, you were adopted, weren't you?
Yeah, and I met my birth mother when I was 19.
So your birth mother placed you for adoption after everything, after you were born, everything was said and done, and then you met her a little bit later on in your life.
And now, we're really close, very close.
How?
I've called her mom from the time we met, and I took her with me to a search and support group once, and she was saying, how much it meant to her that, she never felt like I had to, but how much it meant to her that I have always called her mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nurturing to me, healing, honoring to her.
So at what point, your mother was raped, you were born, you were placed for adoption, you met your mom at 19. At what point did this become such a important and powerful issue for you? You've started this organization, you're a pro-life speaker, you go all over the world. Speak a little bit to how all that came to be.
From the time I learned how I was conceived when I was 18, I wrote two poems, and then I wrote an article about my search and learning how I was conceived, and it was published in the school newspaper at the university I attended. And so immediately I wanted to speak out and defend my life because I felt targeted. I knew what people said about abortion and cases of rape. And, I wanted to cry out for the value of my life. And I felt like I was in a position where I would have to defend my life and justify my existence. It was 10 years before I finally met someone else with a similar story. And we had an instant kinship, instant connection, and we're still good friends to this day. And now we have this incredible network of almost 500. A bunch of us were just together down in Orlando this weekend, and we are like a family. This is like our tribe. And, we have a unique life experience which very few people can relate to, and there's a lot of different nuances with it. Not just the obvious of being targeted, but, just all kinds of complex issues that come into play. So we have a support group, but we also have an activism group for people who want to become active, or if people want to write out their stories. We have 150 stories on our blog. And I'm an attorney, too, so in law school, I always fought. I was always debating. In school, I went to a very secular, liberal law school, which was great because it really prepared me for life. I was never afraid to speak up in that regard. And, I've used my legal background. My philosophical abortion essay I wrote back then, 43 pages, number 1. For philosophical abortion essay for more than 15 years on Google. So I'm glad that that's been put to good use. But I realized that it's stories that really change hearts. There's a lot of people that like to keep this discussion in the philosophical realm, but we can't let people forget that we are talking about real people.
That's right. That's right. Well, I got to tell you, Rebecca, I appreciate listening to you, and like I said, the story that you tell can really be only told, I think, by you. But there are a lot of women, frankly, that share your story, and so you put those out there. You just referenced that a second ago on your blog, and so where would we go to see some of this stuff?
Okay, well, our website is savetheone.com, and that's the number one, not the word one. And it comes from the Parable of the Lost Sheep. Mm-hmm. And then our blog is savetheone.blogspot.com, and our Facebook page is Save the One. And we're always posting stories, like just like the Waiting, that book. I'll definitely get that posted later. So every day we post content, videos, short videos, longer videos. There's a TED Talk that just got posted from my friend Thaddeus Bullard, who is a WWE wrestler. Mm-hmm. He goes by Titus, and he just did a TED Talk at UCLA. And his story is that he was conceived and raped. His birth mother was 12. And his TED Talk is so powerful.
Wow.
So powerful. Really profound. I just posted that on our Facebook page yesterday. I encourage people to listen to that. And what a great platform he's been given. So he's not like active as a pro-life activist, but kind of as a humanitarian. So I encourage people to check out that story.
We will do that. And again, we're talking with Rebecca Kiesling, who started the organization Save the One, the number one. You can go to their website, Save the One, number one, not spell it out, but just the numeral, savetheone.com. And I want to hear from you. Call us or text us at 515-727-KTIA.
It's Mikey. He's better than TV. We're listening to Mikey, and best of all, it's free.
And it is Mikey, and it's FaithWorks Live, and it's Tuesday, and we're talking about life today. And we have on our studio line Rebecca Kiesling, and she has been sharing her own story plus the work that she does with her organization, Save the One, the numeral.com. And I've really been profoundly blessed, and I hope you have as well. I want to share this with you because you understand something, that there is really just a discouragement, I think, present in today's social setting in America about the political arena. People bicker, people argue. We see political leaders who just abandon any principle and play a lot of political games. There's got to be a better way, and there is. I want to tell you about an encouraging and inspiring event that is challenging all of us to rethink what it means to stand for principle over politics. The Family Leadership Summit in Des Moines, Iowa, on July 15th is an annual get-together of thousands of Americans with a heart for God and a heart for America. People who go to this summit consistently come back saying how encouraged they are to know that they aren't alone, that so many are yearning and working toward an honest-to-goodness revival in the nation. It's the church doing what the church is supposed to be doing. Not afraid of government, but not playing politics either. It's the church standing up to speak biblical truth to power. The summit speakers this year come from the spheres of government, entertainment, and the church, all discussing how to navigate leadership while staying true to your values. That speaker list includes George Barna, counselor to the President Kellyanne Conway, the Benham brothers, Pastor Jim Garlow, U.S. Senators Chuck Grassley and Joni Ernst, and many more. So won't you join me for a day of faith-affirming, culture-changing inspiration? To learn more and to get your tickets, go to thefamilyleadershipsummit.com. That's thefamilyleadershipsummit.com. Now we're talking with Rebecca Kiesling, and she has not only shared some of her own personal story, but she shared with us that she is herself a lawyer, and she gets involved in legislative work and the process all around the country, really. I've seen her here in Iowa personally, and this last session, we had a group of legislators that were trying to get the life at conception bill passed, but we just fell short of the goal line, Rebecca. And you were involved in that process. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, and I work out the so yeah, it was very frustrating. I mean, I'm from Michigan, where we've never had a rape exception in a single law, because Right to Life in Michigan refuses to sacrifice the child conceived in rape. So they refuse to compromise. David Barton from Wall Builders, he once said that, if you want to know where someone's going to stand on any issue, you look at where they stand on the life issue. If they've got the life issue right, they've got all the rest of the issues right. And what I see is that if someone's willing to compromise on the life issue, they're going to compromise on everything. This is why we hardly get anything done in Congress, because there's a bunch of compromisers up there.
Right.
They disappoint us over and over and over again, because they're not solid on any issue. So if you want to get things done, we need to make sure that you only endorse people who are solid. And, that's the problem right now. You did have a great success this last election cycle, but you still have just a few, it's only a few bad apples, but you still have a few who are not solid on the life issue. Mm-hmm. And they spoiled it. I was working hand in hand, and we were going from legislator to legislator, and we knew exactly where each stood, and I had personal conversations with people, and I got to talk to people who were, the wafflers who really blew this, so that they ultimately killed the bill, and all it took was just a couple people really killed the bill.
Yeah. Republicans.
So really, yeah.
Pro-life Republicans.
So allegedly pro-life, pro-life in name only.
I put that
they
in quotes.
Want your endorsement. They want you to help them get elected, but they're not going to help you get anything passed.
It kind of came to my attention that one of the Republicans that actually helped put a kibosh to the bill, he actually had kind of some personal story, and I don't know how, I've never heard it publicly stated by him, but I've just heard this kind of in quote unquote a rumor that he actually had a background where there was a close connection either to him via family or friend, where there was a situation such as yours, where there was a rape or an incest that was involved, and they felt that having an abortion alleviated quote unquote the problem, and that he wasn't going to bend on that, and you didn't. I
had not heard that one, but there was a legislator who underwent IVF. His wife underwent IVF.
Yes.
And he was a big part of the issue, and I co-founded Embryo Defense. I represented the mother in Michigan's frozen embryo case. It was the third in the nation, the first in Michigan. And my co-founder of Embryo Defense, she has 2 frozen embryos in Missouri. She just lost her Missouri Supreme Court case. It's just heartbreaking. And he has 2 children who were conceived in the same grouping. And so, I get that it's hard to say, I'm going to be against IVF. But we tried to explain that this wouldn't ban IVF. It wouldn't ban IVF, and IVF can be done, ethically, where you're not destroying embryos. And they have an embryo statute in Louisiana, and they still have IVF.
Right.
There's no reason why they should have to be destroying human embryos, living human beings, in order to achieve this. And so I understand that he has children who were conceived out of IVF, and it's kind of like some of the mothers in our organization. They get asked the hard question, if the only way to have your child was to be raped all over again, would you, undergo the rape? And these women, none of us are pro-rape. None of us are pro-rape, okay? But at the same time, for these mothers, they will say, I've heard some of the mothers say, if that's the only way I could have my child, like I love my child that much, I wouldn't, they would say, gosh, in that position, I wouldn't undo the rape. Yet they're not pro-rape. Of course they're not. But it's a tough position to be in. I get that. You don't want to say that you're going to erase your child, that you want to undo your child and say that you're going to ban IVF. But in this instance, we're not asking them to ban IVF. But the problem is that he has frozen embryos.
Mm-hmm.
And he and his wife have not decided what to do about that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
And that he wants to be able to have option to destroy them if he feels like it. That's the problem. It's not the problem saying that we want to ban IVF and we want to erase your children. The problem is that he wants to have, the decision to end their lives,
right?
If he wants.
And I do. I think I would be remiss not to just point out. Tim Overland is kind of egging me on Facebook, but we should name these men: Senator Dawson, Senator Shipley, Senator Schneider. These were the three Republican senators that really kind of put a kibosh to the bill here in Iowa in terms of trying to get life at conception passed. And it's really unfortunate, especially one of them. Senator Dawson, who replaced Gronstal over in Council Bluffs, and he literally did what Gronstal has done for years, in stalling the Senate from even doing anything close to resembling anything pro-life, and that was really a sad thing because we had such high hopes for that, but. Rebecca, you are involved in these processes, and I appreciate that about you. You don't just have a declarative, "Hey, I'm pro-life." It's way deeper than that. This is literally your heartbeat, your soul's passion, and it comes out just in hearing you and seeing you and meeting you. And I do appreciate that about you.
And I adopted 3 children.
Wow.
Okay, on top of it, I refused to undergo IVF. I found a pro-life fertility doctor and got pregnant the first month.
Wow.
After 4.5 years of infertility, because I wasn't going to go the path of IVF. And I make embroidered quilts for pregnancy centers. My birth mother taught me to sew. So it's, I give back in a lot of different ways. And tomorrow we're going to have a pro-life booth that I host at our local fireworks. And it's actually a collaboration of 4 pro-life organizations.
Wow.
Nice. Very cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I spent my life.
When we come back on the final segment, I do want to address a couple of texts that we receive, and you can call us or text us at 515-727-KTIA.
Since then, I never look back. It's almost like living a dream. And I love you.
From Altoona to Windsor Heights, you can hear us, so why not join us? Call or text 515-727-KTIA.
With the constant change of seasons, it's essential to maintain a comfortable temperature in your home. Equipped with a good working HVAC system, you can easily create a refreshing atmosphere in the summer and a nice, warm, cozy one in the winter. Turn to Baldwin Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing for reliable heating and cooling services. As the HVAC contractor of choice in Adel, Iowa for over 100 years, rest assured that you will be provided with premier quality products and services. People choose Baldwin Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing because of their competitive rates and because they are employee-owned and operated. They provide exceptional HVAC services and are fully insured and licensed. With over 1 century of experience, whether you need some rusty pipes fixed or heating and cooling services done for your property, you can count on Baldwin Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Their professional plumbers and HVAC specialists have the knowledge and equipment necessary to handle any and all of your needs. So call them today at 515-371-4036. That's 515-371-4036. I'm Mike DeMastis. This is FaithWorks Live. It's Life Tuesday. And I want to go straight to some texts that we received at our text line, 515-727-KTIA. Chris, read the first one.
Our first one says, my favorite part of Tuesday is my drive home. Listening to the people who are truly pro-life, it's very encouraging and affirming in my beliefs.
Oh, they're so special. I like that. Seriously. Thank you so much for that awesome, encouraging text.
I love that text.
And our second text that came into 515-727-KTIA was...
Question. What is the pro-life movement doing to help children and families after the child is born?
Well, that's really interesting. I would say listen to us every Tuesday because we're telling you exactly what we're doing. We have, not only do we have highlights for post-abortive ministries, we have had highlights for people that even are helping families with congenital heart defects. We have ministries for adoption. We have all kinds of things that we've highlighted on these days where we are more than just interested, as we get criticized for by many, than seeing just the baby be born. We want to minister not only to that child, but we want to minister to that mother as well. And even we want to minister to the mother who has made the choice to murder her child. And we want to have an effective ministry of grace and healing to her as well.
We have highlighted an awful lot of stuff here, haven't we?
We have. And we do that every single Tuesday. So I would say, texter, thank you so much for your question, your response via text at 515-727-KTIA. But keep listening because you're going to hear the answer over time. And we're talking with Rebecca Kiesling, and she is the head of SaveTheOne.com, and she has such a powerful story, and she has such a powerful network of other people as well that have stories like her. And you would think that this would be somewhat uncommon, but unfortunately, it's not. Would you say that's your experience, Rebecca?
It's estimated that there are 32,000 plus rape-related pregnancies in the U.S. every year.
Wow. Every year. And
so you double that number, you look at the mothers and the children affected.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people. And so my daughter-in-law works at Agape Pregnancy Center right here in Des Moines, Iowa, and she sees women affected by this as well. And I mean, it's a real thing. Again, it's you see it, the flesh and blood of that.
Oh yeah, either in their history or that's what they're currently seeking help for. It's very common, unfortunately.
Yeah. And so
and they actually choose abortion at half the rate of the average unplanned pregnancy. They don't want more violence.
That's very interesting, isn't it? That's
you don't hear that number a lot. You don't hear statistics like that a lot.
That is pretty incredible. So, Rebecca, if you could highlight for us some things that you're seeing nationally, because we talked about what was happening here in the state of Iowa and some of the legislative work that you have been trying to complement and help with. But there's a book out that just recently got published as well. I purchased this book, and why don't you tell us a little bit about that book?
Personhood, the Tree of Life. It is really the most comprehensive book out there for the pro-life movement now. It covers everything. It even covers anti-sex trafficking, which Personhood has taken on as part of our mission statement. And I say ours because Save the One is an at-large affiliate of Personhood, along with Personhood Iowa, of course. And I wrote a chapter. We have four chapters that came from Save the members, but I wrote one of the chapters in talking about legislation and why no exceptions, no compromise, and why it's not necessary to sacrifice the child conceived in rape, why it's wrong, and why it's really not necessary. Like I said, in Michigan, we've never had a rape exception because Right to Life of Michigan won't engage in child sacrifice.
Right. Wow.
And it's a shame though that the majority voice of the pro-life movement in the United States is that of compromise. And it looks like Iowa is really coming around. You guys have an incredible coalition there now where things are changing, where it's really not going to be business as usual anymore. And these politicians, I think they're going to learn, especially next election cycle, that they're not going to be able to count on endorsements from all the pro-life organizations, because I think that those leaders are now starting to see that that it's not fruitful to just sit there and prop them up. If they make a rape exception, they're letting you know they're not your guy.
Right.
Or they're not your gal, right?
And it's been unfortunate to see, even like with the live read I did in the third segment, just to see some of these men and women who tout a particular party and say that they are definitely pro-life, but when it comes down to the brass tacks, they won't do what's necessary to make that come to fruition. And it's just a declaration. It's nothing more. It's words. It doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. And babies are still dying at the rate of 13 a day here in our state. And so that's the reality. And that's a sad, sad thing.
We just had a lady ask on Facebook if your book is available on Amazon.
Yes, it is. Yes,
okay.
Personhood, The Tree of Life.
Yeah, and I'd say it's a great book. And Tim, I know you're watching there, so put that link up there. He just said that. Jessica, I'll post a link here. Good job, Tim.
Yeah.
Right on the ball on that one. But hey, I think Rebecca, what encouragement can you give to our listening audience about this issue, about being more making pro-life something that we live out, making it actionable? What would you say?
Well, first of all, I know that there's a lot of stories that do not be afraid to share your stories of why it is that you care about these issues. Sometimes there are difficult family dynamics, difficult family stories, and I get the family dynamics. Give permission for your family members to be able to share your difficult story, whether it's the fact that you're post-abortive or that you had a challenging prenatal diagnosis, or that you had once considered aborting your child and you went to a pregnancy center. And, sometimes people feel like that you're ashamed that they had even considered aborting. But, when you keep it a secret, you're not helping anyone, because that child that you save from aborting could turn around and end up having an abortion later if they don't know the value of their own life and their own near-death experience, which could be life-changing for them. So share your stories and share other stories. There's reasons, if it's not something that personally happened to you, there's that you saw or heard in your life that have led you to be and to become active. Tell people those stories. Tell people why. Share your heart. This issue needs to be talked about. It should not be shelved in the pro-life closet. This needs to be in the public forum, and so make sure you pass on your values to the next generation, especially within your own family. Mm-hmm. And then I hope you know your own worth. Ultimately, I'm able to do what I do because I know my worth. And I love because Christ first me. So I can show that love to her and grow it. And, that's what this movement needs to be about. So many of my close friends are post-abortive. And we need to be able to love everyone and dignity.
Well, Rebecca, I want to thank you so much for being a part of our show today on FaithWorks Live. And go to her website, SaveThe1.com, and learn more. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. God bless.